The Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark and Lexi Hull. Are we doing injuries? Are we doing the Indiana Fever Hospital MASH unit all over again? Is that what we're doing? We got Caitlin Clark making a little comment about her leg sleeve. Like, why are you having to wear that? Question mark. Let me guess. Back brace.
The league believed they had discovered their next superstar until the arena seats started emptying out. Almost overnight, the same Caitlin Clark they once treated like non-stop headlines became the player they could no longer overlook. Ticket sales began to slide, concerns spread quickly, and now the Indiana Fever are racing to repair a situation that may have spiraled from their own decisions. But what actually happened behind closed doors? Who made the move that shifted the entire narrative? And why does this feel less like the ending and more like the beginning of something much bigger?
This is game one for the Indiana Fever, and I'm not going to lie, they are trolling us a little bit by putting Damiris Dantas here. It's a little bit of trolling, we have to admit, by putting Damiris Dantas on the cover photo for this. That is, I will consider that trolling. Harmless trolling, sure, absolutely trolling. Because Damiris Dantas is someone that probably should not be on this team, especially when there are significantly better players that have just.
Before we dive deeper, hit that like button and subscribe because this story is only getting crazier from here. As it turns out, the fastest way to kill the electricity inside a sold-out arena is to treat your biggest superstar like she's just another player on the bench. Not too long ago, tickets were vanishing almost instantly whenever Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court, and the excitement surrounding her felt absolutely unstoppable.
So much going on in this preseason. Teams are starting to cut certain players. They're starting to finalize their roster. You're starting to get a better idea of just what the DNA and the makeup of these different teams are going to be. The preseason games are pretty much over, and maybe we'll start there in today's episode. Let's talk a little bit about the Indiana Fever's last preseason game against the Nigerian national team. So I didn't go live for this game, and I didn't go live for this game because I knew that it wasn't going to be a
Then, almost out of nowhere, the very franchise that had been thriving under her spotlight began acting as if that spotlight no longer mattered. And that's when everything started to unravel. Practically overnight, the entire mood changed. The messaging became awkward, the energy felt different, and the results on and off the court began exposing a reality nobody inside the organization wanted to say publicly.
Around because, you got local TV stations, etc., editing together footage to talk about the season about to start. And there was a video out there, and part of it, I guess Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White hugged each other. Guys, that means nothing. Do not let people blow smoke up your ass. That makes them best. Guys, Caitlin Clark is unbelievably classy.
Now here's the part that made everything uncomfortable. Fans did not suddenly stop loving basketball, and they definitely did not stop caring about the Indiana Fever. What they grew tired of was the mixed messaging, the inconsistency, and a public narrative that no longer matched what they were clearly seeing unfold on the court.
Look forward to go to Old Trafford anymore. They do everything they can to cancel people's season tickets, and with a long season ticket waiting list, they make sure that anyone does anything wrong, they'll cancel their season tickets. So basically, tourists will pay more for the games than locals. It's not the Manchester's. I know Manchester would be a fairly wealthy enough area, but as a Leeds United fan, that's what everyone fears. With the way prices are going up and tourist fans and elite.
When a franchise builds its entire momentum around a once-in-a-generation talent, the expectation is obvious. Every decision should be centered on maximizing that player's impact. But instead, fans began noticing hesitation, questionable rotations, and an increasingly uncomfortable gap between the team's public messaging and what was actually happening during games. And that is where the criticism surrounding Stephanie White really started to grow. Her press conferences no longer sounded like firm, confident leadership. They started feeling more like carefully crafted explanations that became harder and harder to defend under scrutiny. Injuries were discussed as if they were simply bad luck, random events nobody could have seen coming, as though the team was just trapped in circumstances completely beyond its control. On the surface, that explanation sounded reasonable enough. But fans were asking a different question entirely. Were these situations truly unavoidable, or were certain decisions increasing the risk from the start? When a player with the spotlight of Caitlin Clark is involved, every second on the floor gets analyzed, and every substitution instantly becomes a debate. The frustration did not come from one isolated moment, because controversies like this almost never do. It came from repetition. It came from situations that felt unnecessary, leaving a star player in late during games that already seemed decided, or pushing returns that did not appear fully justified. Individually, each decision could be defended, but together, they began forming a pattern that fans could no longer ignore.
Well, look at tickets for the season opener. Guys, do you understand that 2 years ago, 2024, and even in the beginning of 2025, I was doing videos making fun of other franchises because they could not sell out their games. In fact, they couldn't even come close to selling out their games.
That pattern eventually sparked a far more uncomfortable question. Were the Indiana Fever actually focused on building long-term success? Or were they reacting to short-term pressure like ticket revenue, nonstop media attention, and the need to keep the hype alive? And that is where the irony became impossible to miss. The same organization that sometimes appeared to downplay Caitlin Clark's importance suddenly found itself desperately needing the very thing it seemed willing to gamble with: her health, her consistency, and her ability to perform at the highest level every night. Because ticket demand is never just about basketball. It is about anticipation. It is about energy. It is about fans believing they might witness something unforgettable the moment they walk into the arena. From the outside, some of the team's decisions may have sounded like part of a modern, data-driven strategy. But fans are not sitting at home studying spreadsheets. They are watching the games unfold in real time. They notice when players look exhausted, when injuries seem to linger longer than expected, and when coaching decisions feel completely disconnected from what everyone else is seeing on the court. And once that disconnect begins, the narrative changes fast. Because the moment people stop trusting the explanation, they start creating explanations of their own. Suddenly, every decision feels questionable. Every press conference gets picked apart. Every loss starts looking like proof that something deeper is going wrong behind the scenes. At that point, the conversation stops being only about wins and losses. It becomes about credibility.
As a fan watching this game, I didn't really hold much weight in this game, okay? The Fever won by 50 points. Every single player played well. And I think it would have been concerning if every single player didn't play well. But there are a few takeaways that I had from this game. The first one being Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston is back into the mix. It seems like she has recovered from whatever injury she sustained in Unrivaled.
Then the discussion shifts into mentality. And that's where things start to escalate even further. Stephanie White has talked about positioning the team for a championship run, which on the surface signals ambition and direction. But in professional sports, wording carries real weight. There is a meaningful difference between building towards success and openly framing success as the only acceptable standard, especially in a high-pressure environment shaped by a rising star like Caitlin Clark. In a market that is fully energized and emotionally invested, it becomes difficult to reset expectations once that narrative takes hold. At the same time, roster adjustments and shifting chemistry add another layer of complexity. White has pointed to experience as a foundation, emphasizing growth through adversity, learning from past seasons, and building resilience over time. On paper, that approach is logical, but when key pieces change and continuity is disrupted, those lessons don't always translate cleanly onto the court. It creates a tension that's hard to ignore, a team trying to draw identity from past versions of itself while simultaneously building something entirely new. The result is a strange contradiction, experienced in theory, but still evolving in practice, referencing stability while still searching for it in real time.
White is a loser and a liar. She has a losing mentality, and she just constantly lies every time she's in front of a microphone. Lie, 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 lie. Stephanie White Lies is what we're going to start calling her. Stephanie White Lies gave an interview yesterday press conference, media availability, where she did two of her favorite